Everyone to the Tone Vase YouTube channel for another stream related to health and wellness. Can I please get a confirmation on audio video in the live chat before we're gonna try to do a 3-hour interview in 1 hour with the one and only Jack Kruse here in El Salvador. Let me see what it looks like on your end. And I don't see us live yet. I don't see anybody commenting, so work.
That won't be fun.
Boom, there it is. I'm also a little concerned over the audio connection and the bandwidth connection. So we are gonna need some confirmations, guys. Okay, audio's okay.
There you go.
Audio and video is good. Okay, cool. All right, we'll keep an eye on this. All right, so let's do a brief intro. This is the first time we've met in person, and we did run across each other
Clubhouse.
on Clubhouse. And let me go to window. I'm going to share this. That is your website?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Jack, go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm sure most of my audience are familiar with your work, so you can keep it brief, and you have a million other podcasts where people can really find out about your history.
Yeah, my name's Jack Kruse. I'm a board-certified neurosurgeon. Spend most of my time right now blowing up centralized medicine and teaching people about decentralized medicine.
Excellent. That was nice and brief. His website is in the video description, and that is your book available on Amazon as well. There is a link to his book and a video. 4.6. That's pretty damn good. For Amazon, 1,000 reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And there's his Jack's bio right there. We're going to stop screen share and let's begin. All right. We already did a brief background. I also watched this 4-hour podcast where you spent 3 hours talking about the JFK assassination.
Yeah.
That is listed in my video description. Go ahead and check that out. We are going to avoid that topic on this show only because I care a lot more about health and wellness than what happened back in 1964, 5?
3.
All right, there you go. Things before I was born. Okay, so Jack, can you drop some names of publicly available information of some of the people you've helped that like Jack Dorsey, which is public knowledge, also President Bukele, and a few others, because that's probably the best way to explain what the kind of people that come to you for help.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you Rick Rubin's another one. That's
and you can
pretty
speak
public.
up a little bit louder.
Rick Rubin is another, and I have tons of professional athletes, NBA, NHL, NFL, especially people overcoming TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, also recurrent injuries. Most of them, I would say, Pro Bowl players, several Hall of Fame players.
All right. And we're going to jump right into it. So I've watched about 3 or 4 of your longer format interviews of other podcasters. And I have follow-up questions, and this is where we're going. We're going straight to, in your view, the most important thing to human health is sunlight.
I wouldn't say sunlight. I'd say it's for decentralized health, it's light, water, and magnetism. You have to have all 3. That's what decentralized health is based on. So just to make this very simple, remember, circadian biology is based on daylight, darkness, and temperature regulation. So there's 3 things, not one thing that control it. Now, if you ask me what's the most important of the 3, light is the most important of the 3.
Let's elaborate on that. Let's talk a little more about light, the different types of light, when you're supposed to take that light in, and how are you supposed to take that light in?
The most important light is sunlight. The least important light is manufactured light from man. The single most important thing is the default state is at sunrise. So if you take anything away from this podcast, to be honest with you, you need to see the sunrise. The sunrise is when you begin to renovate all the proteins in your body that you need to fix. The number 1 ones are the heme proteins. Those heme proteins all have red light chromophores in it. That's the reason why sunlight in the morning has much more red light than later in the day. So that's the reason why you want to do that.
Let's dive a little bit deeper on that. How dangerous is blue light after sundown?
It's probably the single biggest thing that's caused all the chronic health maladies in the world. So Tone was not in my panel I just did, and I gave an example that I want you to think about. This is how important it is. What I'm about to tell you, you know to be axiomatically true, but you have never been able to explain it. A guy named Peter Unger dug up the skulls of people that built the pyramids. They were found next to the Sphinx. What did he find? Perfect dentitions, perfect skulls, internatotabular skull, perfect. The same people, both in your home country and in my country, King Tut came. People that lived at the same time. They have all the diseases that we see in the United States today. Okay? What's the difference? The Nubians lived in the sun. The pharaohs lived inside in the temples where there was no sunlight. That's the problem.
On that note, by the way, guys, I've spent a lot. I kind of retired, semi-retired. I'm back over this stupid knots debate. And I am now focusing on health and wellness. And as crazy as it sounds, I mean, I always knew sunlight was important. I didn't really know to what extent. But I've raised my vitamin D level from 37, which it was a year ago, to 65, which it was the last time I measured it back in
make sure you
June, July.
That's United States scales, correct?
Correct.
Not European scales.
Correct.
Because that would be really bad.
US scales, I was down like at 37. I checked, it was 65, and I want to try to get it closer to 80. And I think that's the more optimal. Over 100 is probably off, and I'm doing it naturally. No supplements. We're going to get to supplements a little bit later in the interview because I'm spending a lot more time in the sunlight. And you know what? Let's stay with the sunlight question. So the first thing I wake up, the first thing I brush my teeth, and after that, I walk outside, grounding, catching the sunlight into my eyes as early in the day as possible. I try not to wake up with an alarm. Sometimes it's 7 a.m. Sometimes it could be 6:30. Sometimes it's 8 a.m. if I happen to sleep in. That's the first thing I do, get early morning sun. And I heard that I also stopped wearing sunglasses. I try to get that sunlight early in the day into my eyes. I heard that the earlier in the day you get the sun, the less likely you are to burn later in the day from the sun. So correct me if I'm already off. Everything's correct. So
the only thing I would tell you that's incorrect: don't brush your teeth. Go out in the sun first.
Brush
your teeth later.
Brush your teeth later. Okay, great. Because no, the reason is because I used to do a little more fasting, and even now I try to drink water early in the day, and I want to brush my teeth before I drink water because I want a clean mouth so it doesn't go down my throat. That's why the sequence is like that. I could also do all that outside. My question is, so the sunlight, no sunglasses, allow the sunlight to go in your eyes. That is not dangerous. I heard that it helps with vitamin D synthesis in your skin. Is that true or not?
That's not true.
That's not true.
Like AM sunlight has mostly red and blue.
Mm-hmm.
Red doesn't do anything for vitamin D, blue light.
Okay.
You have to have purple light, which is UVA, UVB. UVA light is important for melanin, which is the solar panel you just talked about. So that's more in
the afternoon.
Correct. And depends on where you are in the latitude. So let's just use El Salvador as the example.
That's where we are.
When we wake up here, the sunrise here about 5:45. You start making UVA light here literally about 6:30. So that's when you start the vitamin D issue. What you want to do with the red light is you want to start to renovate the red light proteins in you. So for example, your mitochondria is loaded with red light protein, every part of your body. So you want to be grounded. If you can be at the beach with your feet in the water, then that's important. If you don't have that, like in my place, I have a place where you can ground in the water, and we use deuterium depleted water to do it with the sun there. There's several people at this conference that are staying at my house doing this with me every day.
Next year, I'm in.
All right.
Next year, I'm definitely in on that. So these are actually supposed to be grounding shoes. I have not tested it with any electrical devices, kind of trusting the label. We're standing on concrete, so we're not benefiting from that at the moment. So, but my question to the vitamin D through your eyes was more not the time of day, but is it true
You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. You need your skin to do it. Why?
You need your skin to
The
do.
skin
Right.
has to be in the game because you make it from cholesterol.
Oh no, I agree that it has to hit your skin, but I heard that it coming through your eyes helps synthesizing the skin.
No,
True or false?
that's false.
Okay, that I needed that cleared up because I actually such mixed reports on that all over the internet.
True.
So back to the sun. Some of us have a bald head. This is supposed to be covered with hair. You still have hair. You're older than me. Hat? No hat?
No hat.
No hat. Let the bald head hit the sun. Next, another. I usually try to be shirtless all the time. I picked up some muscle, guys. In January, I'm probably gonna start taking my shirt off for some of these health conferences. On another, a lot of people give you crap about not being in perfect physical shape, but I heard if you have one hell of a grip, let's find out. That's pretty good, actually.
Mid-60s. Okay. So
I picked up some muscle.
So this is what I will tell you though, because we just talked about this, and this is a fair criticism. But people don't know, 5 years ago, I was in really good shape. I made a decision 5 years ago to go back into the hospitals to find out what they did to us. So I started to go back and take trauma call. I was already retired. Bitcoin allowed that. So when I went back in to figure out what happened, then I did some other things. I got devices to send to researchers so that you can find out some of the things you're finding out now from Kevin McKiernan, from Jessica Rose. And to do that, what did I have to do? Go back in 2 times a month for a week and work 24/7, round the clock in ICUs. That's the reason why the situation is the way it is. Now, do I think that's going to be that way permanently? No, because as of this conference, this is the last time that Uncle Jack will be talking about politics, be talking about COVID, be talking about any of those things. I'm not going to be an advocate for that at all after this next talk at 4 o'clock.
Oh yeah, I went full-blown politics. I was so pissed over the lockdowns, over the vaccines, over the election 2020. I attended January 6th protest. I'm still proud of that. My first political protest as an American. I'm so pissed at what Trump's doing in his second term. I was happier in his first term, and I cover Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza. I'm gonna end the politics talk because I kind of wanna. I've lowered my cortisol levels. I'm gonna talk about that on another podcast. So one more thing on sunlight hitting the body. Something that I don't do, but I probably should start. How important is it for the sunlight to hit your entire body? Because there's a whole section down there that never sees the sun. Yeah. How important is that?
It's important, like Jet's junk maintenance. So the guy that you know, Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa died from prostate cancer. How about another guy, Jamaican guy, Bob Marley, same thing. Metastatic breast cancer. So what guys need to understand, culture, centralization keeps us with our clothes on, keeps us those parts covered. As long as you're able to get some of those things in your lifestyle. Bitcoin allows for a lot of that stuff because we have more time in which to spend. So yes, you want all your skin in the game. You don't have to do it constantly because there's a thing called the abscopal effect of light. So even if you get light on your chest, you get light on your legs, will you effectively help your prostate? Why? Prostate is an epithelial organ. Epithelial organs all respond to vitamin D. So if you have enough vitamin D above 60 nanograms per deciliter, the chance of you getting Zappa's problem or Bob Marley's problem drops dramatically. So even though you don't have to, sun your balls or sun your ass all the time, always check your vitamin D so that you know what you're doing. And there's ways to do that now. You can do blood tests or you can use vitamin D apps like D-Minder, things like that. I'm a big believer. The first time you start doing this for about 18 months, you do it every quarter. Find out where your D is based on the location you're at, and then you can adjust your template and your solar exposure going forward.
All right. Now, one word that has not been mentioned, but I know it's super important, mitochondria.
It's huge.
Can you explain it like you're talking to a 5-year-old?
Yeah, mitochondria means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. If the centralized medicine template, they know it as the focus of power and energy. And you hear ATP. This is the interesting thing about the centralized docs. They think be all end all is ATP. The meatheads that you talk to online, they think about ATP. Do you know what they don't know? When you're in UVA sunlight, do you know that it decreases ATP production from you? In other words, when you're in the sun, we stop our mitochondrial function. Yet you're still able to do things. You've been to probably the beach here. You've seen the surfers out there. Do they stop functioning on their surfboard when they're in the sun? And the UVA light, the nitric oxide, has turned off ATP production? The answer is no. So what is that? The reason I'm being provocative with you here, since you're
you're not at all. I've seen you on the podcast.
Right. But what I'm saying to you is, I want you to understand that the prevailing belief of what a mitochondria is, you also need to question. Mitochondria, functionally what it does, the exhaust fumes are huge. So that's CO2, water, and the big one is ultra-weak biophotons. That is the real purpose of what a mitochondria does. And the problem is that gets us into optics, it gets us into quantum biology, and that's not something you're going to find in a biochemistry textbook.
All right, so sticking with the mitochondria, so I am right now, I'm testing out a few things. So I've been doing methylene blue for about a month.
How do you do it?
I have a liquid that I put in water.
You know how to do that.
You know, this is what I was going to ask. And I don't feel any different. I'm going to finish that bottle. I think I'm almost done with it. Maybe another 3 or 4 days, it's going to be gone. I don't know if I'm going to cycle that again. And my biggest problem with it is it's such an artificial thing. I feel uncomfortable drinking something that was created. Your thoughts on methylene blue? I know Paul Saladino is saying that no one should use it. A lot of other pro-methylene blue people have criticized Paul Saladino for that. Again, I've heard mixed things. What are your thoughts on methylene blue, and should an average person use it? Who should use it, and how should they use it if they need to use it?
The number one thing you need to understand is context. Who are the doctors that are experts in using methylene blue? Cardiovascular surgeons and neurosurgeons. What's my day job? I'm a neurosurgeon. Remember, Paul Saladino is a psychiatrist. They never use methylene blue. So I want you to understand, what did methylene blue, is it really used for? It can be an antimicrobial. So if you're taking it this way, you're killing your gut microbiome. The only way cardiovascular surgeons use it and neurosurgeons use it is IV. That's the only way it should be used, and then it knows what they're doing. So if you're a biohacker at home and you follow like Dave Asprey, you're doing everything wrong. If you take it orally, you potentially can ruin your microbiome. It's a great way to screw things up, and then you make the hole deeper, and then you won't know where to go from there. So my 2 cents, I have a Patreon blog that tells you specifically when and when not to use it. I also believe that you need to have a decentralized doctor under your care to tell you whether it's a good thing for your current template. But I never use methylene blue orally.
Gotcha. That's this is why I wanted to do the interview. It's learning valuable lessons. Okay, so how would a person try to improve their mitochondria? Because you can always improve.
Well, I mean, one of the things that you can do is sunlight. Remember, what controls mitochondrial biogenesis? A very active neurosteroid that you've heard of, melatonin. Where's 95% of melatonin?
Move your mic down. Go ahead, keep talking.
Where's 95% of melatonin made? It's made in your mitochondria. Most of the functional medicine guys tell you it's your pineal gland or in your gut. It's not true. 95% is in the mitochondria. What does it control? It controls apoptosis and autophagy. Those are the two change programs. Autophagy is the one where you recycle a bad engine using the parts that are available. Apoptosis, you take the engine out and then you make a new one from your stem cell. So sunlight is the thing that drives that. Why? What is melatonin made out of? Aromatic amino acids that absorb mostly in the UV range. So most people think about melatonin as the hormone of darkness. Turns out you make melatonin from sunlight.
Well, the production of melatonin begins the moment you get into the sunlight in the morning. So your cortisol wakes you up, your cortisol peaks to wake you up, and the moment you wake up and you step out into the sun, cortisol goes down, melatonin starts to rise, and it peaks at evening time when it's time to go to bed.
And that's when it delivers its biophoton mass to your tissues. That's the key. Cortisol, what it does is when you have light at night, your cortisol is flatlined in the morning. That's why people feel like shit and they get sucked into these plans to go drink coffee, go use nicotine gum and things like that, because you want your cortisol high. And then you also have to realize how this works in a brain and a body you're trying to build. What does melatonin and cortisol effectively do? They also trim neural circuitry. So in other words, melatonin stimulates it, cortisol will do the trimming. But what's the key metric behind that? It's something called brain-derived nerve growth factor. Brain-derived nerve growth factor follows the lead of cortisol. So if you have too much light at night, you're going to have a huge problem rebuilding your brain. And this is fundamentally why we've got neurodegeneration problems. We got myelin problems. We got, all kinds of issues with dementia. So once you understand this, you begin to realize that light and dark's important. Why? Because you can never appreciate how beneficial the sun is without the darkness at night. The reason why circadian biology uses those two together.
We're going to get back to the, what do you call them? The circadian rhythm cycle towards the end, because we have more topics to cover. Let's talk about food, okay? Now, I've heard you mention that one of the more important parts is not what you're eating, but where the food comes from that you are eating.
Also, and when you eat it.
I haven't heard you mention that, but
well, that's the basis of my leptin prescription.
So I'm gonna have you cover that as well. But on where the food comes from, right? So it's gonna be a longer question, and then I'll let you try to explain it. You have locally grown food by farmers. That's always the best for many, many reasons. Obviously, it's going to be the cleanest food. If you're getting it from local farmers, you're supporting the local farmer. Now, you've mentioned on many podcasts, it's super important for the food to be grown in the same sunlight where you are.
Correct.
But let's expand that a little bit. Do you mean literally in the same location?
Same zip code.
Like same zip code?
Same zip code.
What about the same latitude?
Well, it depends. I wouldn't say the latitude's the key thing. It's the local area you are. Why? Because this is where the food gurus, like Saladino, made this mistake when he wrote the carnivore book, but he fixed it when he moved to Costa Rica. And I'll explain to you why this is important. What is the basis of the whole food web? Photosynthesis. Is photosynthesis a story about food or light? It's light and water come together, right? So this is what they've all missed. And when you use first principle thinking, which is what I try to do to people, you begin to understand what is food. Food is fundamentally an electromagnetic barcode of the location that you're in. So when your eyes see the sun, your skin samples it, the message has to be coherent. If it's not coherent with the food you eat, then guess what you do? You make something called chaos. What's the name for chaos that you know? Inflammation. That means you have too many protons that are deuterium, not enough that are electrons in your body. What effectively happens then? All the things that you hear most of the other gurus talk about, oh, this goes wrong, that goes wrong, but they don't understand the fundamentals of how it works. So the other thing I want you to think about too is when you look at a biochemistry book and you open it up, in the mitochondria, do you see any place where it says, here's the carbohydrate transporter, here's the fat transporter, here's the protein transport? No, it's called electron chain transport. Why? Because what do? We break food down to electrons and protons, and those electrons have light on them. That light comes from the environment you're in. So if you want to be quantum coherent, you should eat the food from the environment where the sun builds it.
So for that example, right? Say you live in upstate New York. And you can buy locally grass-fed cows, but you also have buffalo in Wyoming at the same exact latitude, but 3 time zones away.
Yeah,
the local cow would be better than the
Yes.
bison and buffalo
Yes.
from Wyoming.
It's not even
Close.
Yeah, the reason why is going back to the stool, light, water, magnetism. Does the bison have the same magnetic effect? Is the magnetic effect in the supervolcano in Wyoming the same as upstate New York? Is there a supervolcano up there?
No.
Okay, so that affects the spin on electrons and protons. So that's one reason. What's the other reason? Is the water the same at both locations?
Absolutely not.
It's not. So right there is the reason why you hear me say the controversial things. But when you ask me the question and I reduce it down for you, go, okay, this isn't crazy. What he's saying actually makes some sense. Why? Because we all know that the whole food web goes back to photosynthesis. So why would we want to make a mistake in this? This is such a fundamental, basic mistake. I understand why we do it. Why? Because we get food mostly from supermarkets. And if the food is in the supermarket, we think we can eat it. Well, that's not the case. That's not how we're designed.
All right. I see people already putting in questions. I will try to get to some of them after I get through some of mine. Anything else you want to mention on the type of food we should be eating?
Well, I think it depends
Oh,
on...
you said the time of the food. Let's talk about that.
Well, I was going to say, thing about Paul Saladino, he's taken a lot of shit from people like BioLane online about, robbing people for $1 million for his book on carnivore, and then he moves to Costa Rica and he starts
his mind, he feels better. It happens.
It's not just change his mind. What he realized is
he
what I just told you.
His mind because he feels better.
Well, he changed his mind because he moved, and because he realized mangoes and coconuts grow in Costa Rica, they didn't grow back where he came from when he wrote the book, and he realized that his idea was incomplete. So instead of, you never hear me scream at Paul Saladino. I scream more at the meatheads. Why? Because I think Paul has gotten it more quantum correct, but he's not done a good job explaining why he's quantum correct. And that is important. And that's why you'll never hear me say anything to him. In terms of food, timing matters. It has a lot to do with what I told you before. There was for 20 years, I told the paleo guys, I told the meatheads and carnivore that you cannot use the TCA cycle, the urea cycle, unless you renovate your heme proteins in the morning. So a paper comes out in Science Direct in 2021 and shows that I was correct. And a guy that's been one of my detractors on Twitter, his name is HTW on Twitter, Henrik, he posted the paper and he goes, as crazy as this sounds, Kruse is right. If you don't see the sunlight, you can't use the TCA cycle or the urea cycle. So say if you're a guy that likes to eat steak all the time, what happens if you don't see the sunrise? What effectively have you done? Are you giving the proper information to your body? And I'm going to tell you, the biggest mistake people make is not understanding that fact. So why is that important? If you go out and you see the sunrise, you can eat anything. You're an omnivore, provided those things grow in that environment. That's the caveat. When should you eat? 30 to 60 minutes after sunrise. If you decide you want to eat lunch or you want to eat dinner, great. The axiom that I think everybody learned, no matter what country you're in, eat the big breakfast, smaller lunch, and a smaller dinner, okay? That still makes sense. When you're more quantum coherent, when you got your circadian biology totally dialed in, what are you going to find? You're probably going to eat a big breakfast. You're going to have most of your carbs in the morning. You're going to eat a small dinner. You're probably going to wind up getting rid of lunch. What is that mechanism? I wrote something 20 years ago called the leptin prescription. It's based on that paper from 2020 in Science Direct. The problem was, from first principle thinking as a brain surgeon, I figured all this out before it was proven in paper. But here's the most important thing for you to understand as a new influencer. Absence of evidence is an absence of effect, meaning that if it's obvious from first principle thinking it's true and you can reason people through it, you don't need a paper to prove it to you. And guess what? I didn't need a paper, but the guy on Twitter that was, hawking my bullshit, he needed it. But now we know it's axiomatically true. So I just tell people, you can do carnivore, you can do the paleo diet. Just make sure you see the sunrise, because the sunrise, in my opinion, is Pareto's principle. You have to see it 80%. You do that, you can get everything else wrong. If you do that, you're cooking with gas.
All right. Guys, in case you are curious, so here's how my food, so I'll tell you how I eat, basically. I am mostly carnivore with some fruit. So I was doing the carnivore plus fruit before Saladino was. Mm-hmm. I recently added a little bit of carbs. I'm going to talk about why, but that carb is mostly sweet potato.
Uh-huh. That's paleo.
That's, yeah, that is paleo. I used to do paleo, but I don't really eat vegetables. Uh-huh. Stay away from those. Now,
that's also paleo.
Well, no, paleo eats vegetables.
No, they don't.
They don't?
No.
I thought they did.
No.
So I used to be OMAD, 1 meal a day. Mm-hmm. I was not able to build any muscle with mm-hmm. 1 meal a day. I had to switch to 2 meals a day. I still try to keep my 16 to 18 hour fasting window mm-hmm. and eat within 4 to 6 hours. Now, for social reasons, I skip breakfast so I could eat an early lunch after a workout and then dinner. In a perfect world, I would eat breakfast and lunch and scrap the dinner.
No, I would tell you in a perfect world, you're going to eat a big breakfast and you're going to eat a smaller dinner and you're going to skip lunch.
Okay.
And then you're really going to be cooking with gas.
Trying to keep the window as small as possible, but eight hours is my max window.
Yeah, but I would tell you where you're putting your window is also a problem. Remember what the word is called, breakfast. You're breaking the fast at night. So here's the other part that we didn't talk about, but we need to. When you get the leptin prescription right, you're going to find that you're always going to eat dinner while the sun is still out. Now, you've been here for a couple of days. You know that it gets dark here at 6 o'clock this time of the year. So guess what? That means I'm always eating my dinner
about 4 o'clock.
4 to 5 o'clock.
Right. Well, that would be my perfect dinner.
Right.
So
then you don't eat again until
breakfast.
Right.
Until
and that's going to be
sunrise.
at 6:30.
Right. Yeah. That would be the perfect way. Again.
And that's how you should do it, because that's how you're built by nature. You're not built that way from a paper. You're not built that way from a food guru. You're built that way by nature. That's the decentralized nature of us. And if you stay to that plan and understand, like when you go back to Russia, like the light preference in Moscow is radically different than it is it is here. You know that. So you're going to adjust that template there. That's when you may say, Jack, I'm going to do the breakfast, but I'm going to eat lunch and I'm going to do it at 1 o'clock. Why? Because it's going to get dark in Moscow at 3.
No, that actually makes total sense to me. Okay, let's move on. I've also heard you mention, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not a big fan of Wim Hof, or did I get that wrong? I would love to know a little more about your thoughts on breath work and meditation.
I'm a big fan of Wim Hof because he brings people to CT, which is cold thermogenesis. But his breathing method, I'm not a big fan of. Why? Because it breaks the Bohr and Haldane effects in breathing.
Dig in on that for a bit.
Well, I mean, that's going to be physiology where people's heads are going to explode. I think you need to understand the effects. They have a lot to do with oxygen and CO2. This is what I would tell you, where Wim does this, where he got his claim to fame. In the beginning, he was a vegan who lived at high latitude with poor sunlight. And the point I try to make to you, even though he was doing a lot wrong, he still got a lot right. Why? Because he was always in nature doing his CT, which was really important.
And probably eating a lot of local food that's up there, like whatever, seals or whatever they're eating up there.
He was vegan at the time, and he used to also smoke. So you have to realize, back in the beginning, if you have a smoker lecturing you on the Bohr and Haldane effect and with his 2-mo breathing, you're much better off going with a different breathing pattern. In fact, one of the countrymen that you have, Buteyko breathing, is probably smart. My guy that I like to use is Erwin LaCour. He works with MoveNat, and he's a natural mover, walks around. He's big into doing hypoxic training. But the bottom line is, once you understand that breathing is also an electromagnetic phenomenon. Why? Most people don't know this. In 2014, I got thrown out of the Pasadena Convention Center by Dave Asprey for giving a talk on oxygen. I told people it's paramagnetic. What does that mean? It's drawn to magnetic fields. So what's the magnetic field that you're interested in the mitochondria? It's actually the spinning FO head of the ATPase. So the question you got to ask yourself, Tone, based on what I just told you, if you're in UV light and nitric oxide is being made and it turns off that FO head, do you need as much oxygen? The answer is no, you don't. And guess what? Erwin got that right. That's something Wim has never gotten right. And he's never explained that to that detail. Why? Because he focuses in on what he knows. And my issue, especially with you getting into this industry, I want you to understand, I want you to be correct for your audience. So if there's some problem with the quantum mechanics here, like for example, most people don't even know that oxygen is the only paramagnetic gas on the periodic table. Well, you need to know that and how it affects things. And then think about what we said earlier about Wyoming when you asked me about food. Do you think that oxygen tensions in Wyoming are different than upstate New York? The answer is absolutely true. So when you begin to realize that, and none of these how should I say, variables, Wim put into his program, I don't talk about. It's the same reason I don't talk about Saladino is the same reason I don't talk about Wim. They do most of the things correct. They're not offending me terribly. But when people ask me direct questions about it, I'm going to tell you the reason why I disagree with it.
So who would you recommend for breath work?
Erwin LaCour with MoveNat.
There you go, guys. Look him up. All right, next question. So let's move on. So we'll sum it all up. What does let's say you're going back into retirement.
Hmm.
What does a perfect week of Jack's life looks like from a perspective? I'm sure not every day is going to be identical. So what are the main things you will do every day? And what are the things you need to do once or twice a week?
I would say the main thing every day is getting up with the sun, grounding when you do it. Then I try to spend between 6 and 10 hours in the sun every day. So my office, like in my house, when I'm seeing patients, everything's outside. Like I have no walls on my house. The day is going to depend on what I have. Do I have patients? Do I have private patients? Do I have to do desk work? So that will cause it to vary. But the food template is always the same here. Usually in the morning, it's protein, mostly fish, and probably meat. Do I eat a ton of vegetables? No, I don't. Do I eat a lot of sweet potatoes? No, because they're not really popular here. Probably the number one carb that I eat in breakfast time is probably berries. So blueberries and raspberries. I don't eat any.
Is there an order of food? Do you eat the protein first, then the carbs? Is there an order to it or no?
It doesn't matter. I mean, the one thing you can do, if you want to, you like say if you're diabetic and you want to lower the glycemic index, you always want to eat the fat first.
I usually eat protein, then fat, then carbs.
I would tell you it's better to do the fat if you're a diabetic.
Fat, then protein, or if you're diabetic. Okay.
Yeah, and that way you're trying to reduce the glycemic index. But if you eat it when you're outside, just remember, sunlight reduces blood sugar by 27%.
Also, when I make sweet potato, or if I go back to eating rice, I would freeze it to turn it into resistant starch, then eat it.
Yeah, but that's
makes a difference. Not really.
That's all Paul. What's his name? I even forgot his name. He's a huge paleo guy back in the day that made the resistant starch thing a big issue. I think that's total bullshit.
Okay.
I think if you're going to eat
some time.
If you're going to eat the sweet potato, you're going to eat the rice. I would tell you put butter in it. Why? Because
then I'll put butter in everything.
Yeah. So then if you do that, then you're doing it right.
Okay. Thoughts on fat? My favorites are basically avocado. Besides the meat fat, it's avocado and occasionally olive oil. What are your favorite fats?
My favorite fats are way different than yours. Animal fats from rendered animals. So I'm tallow.
Oh yeah, no. I said besides those.
Yeah. Well, I'm not into avocado. MUFAs are not thing. I like PUFAs. So it's going to be seafood fats. There's a reason for that. Your brain is made with most of those. I do eat avocados here in El Salvador because they grow naturally here. I don't use very much olive oil here. Why? Olive oil is not from this area.
Yep.
Coconut oil is. Palm oil is. So those would be the fats that I use.
Gotcha.
I also cook with a lot of bacon grease.
I love wild caught salmon, but it's going to be hard not to eat it because I don't live up in Alaska.
Neither do I.
Very challenging.
Well, I don't either. But we here in El Salvador, we have great fish.
Yeah.
So in Libertad, we have a seafood market. I would tell you, if you don't do it this time, come next time, come check it out. You won't believe the diversity of fish that are still here. Why? Because in Mexico, in California, all the fisheries are dead. We still have wild fish here.
Yeah, no, I never touch farm fish. I avoid farm fish like the plague, only wild fish.
If you get a chance, I would also tell you, the other thing that's really good here, go to Monarca, it's a restaurant, try the pulpo, which is octopus.
Yep.
Spectacular. Also foie gras here, spectacular.
All right, what's the rest of your day looks like? So your food cycle, you probably eat around 7:30, 8 a.m. First meal?
No, this morning, 6:30.
6:30, second meal comes in around 4.
Yeah, I haven't eaten yet. So I got to do a talk now.
And you're going to eat right after that talk?
Hopefully, depending if I get out of here. If I don't, then I don't eat.
All right. Yep. Gotcha. And you try to be asleep by 10 p.m.?
Oh, I will tell you, the night of Bitcoin Historical where we met the first time, I was in bed that night at 6:30.
Oh, wow.
I was in bed and I woke up at sunrise. This last night I went to bed at 7:45 and woke up at sunrise at 5:30.
What are your tricks and habits to fall asleep faster and get more deep and REM sleep?
I wish you talked to my nurse at this point. She'd tell you I go to sleep in 5 seconds. She hates it, but it's the sunrise. The more sunrise you get, I just go to sleep. And the crazy thing is, in my room, I have blackout curtains. As soon as I see the sun come up, the light, it wakes me up. I don't use a phone. I have no electromagnetic things in my environment.
Yeah, I started putting my phone on airplane mode when I go to bed. It's not good.
Keep it in the living room. Don't even put it around you.
Turn off the router. No, I actually want to build a house. And when I build a house, I want to master kill switch in my bedroom for all electricity in the bedroom.
That's why I told you you should have came to my house, because you would have seen a citadel.
Yeah. 100%. Next time I'll hit you up ahead of time and we'll set that up. So that's where I'm going to be staying. Okay. Anything else? Something you do on a weekly basis? So cold exposure, heat exposure?
All the time. In the pool, in the water. My pool is all set up for CT. We also do lifting. You know, we never do it in the gym. We always do it outside.
Outside. Actually, I don't sober up at the cabin. People usually watch me stream all summer long outdoors there as well.
Most people are surprised when they meet me. They think they haven't, but when they see what I can move and the things that I do. You're doing travel on a plane. I've got a blog out there called the Jet Lag Prescription. I wrote it a long time ago. Anybody can download it. That's the only time that supplements make sense, because flying induces a circadian mismatch.
Hold on, we lost some video, guys. Is my audio still working? This says I'm live. And try to switch hotspots to my. I'm gonna turn on a hotspot. 1 second. I think we're back. All right, guys, good now. We're back. All right, we didn't miss anything. I think I caught it right on time. All good now. All right, let's move on. So no vitamins. Thoughts on vitamin C? Some people think it's the important thing, but you eat a lot of fruit. Issue with it?
I don't eat that much fruit, but you need a ton of vitamin C. You just need. When I take care of patients, do I use vitamin C when they have mitochondrial colony failure? Yeah, but I don't use it. Or you have two receptors that deal with vitamin C, SVCT1 and SVCT2. The one that in your gut, you can only tolerate 1 to 2 grams. The one in your blood, you can tolerate 10, 15, 20 grams. So when would I use something like that? I would use that and somebody comes in and gets a gunshot wound head. Someone comes in and has a subdural hematoma, or a better one, say they're septic, they're having an infection, and I'm doing, say, spine surgery on. That's when I would use something like that. In other words, it's got to be the person's equals 1. If you're a normally healthy guy, there's no to go to see a functional medicine doctor and get hit with a Myers cocktail. A Myers cocktail, you have colony failure, you're not healthy.
Hey guys, in future episodes, people are saying it's not great, but okay, we'll work with that. I am going to show all my blood work stats. I'm also going to show my genetic stats. So I did use my genetics to get my health report. So apparently I'm the lucky one with both parents giving me the motherfucker gene, MTHFR.
Yeah, 677 or 1298.
Exactly. So I have a problem relating B vitamins. Now, I have never taken a B vitamin. I eat a lot of meat. My, is it homocysteine? cysteine that's going to be high with that. It's
Correct.
a little higher than it should be. What are your thoughts on methylation, especially with someone like me that's in the 13th percentile of a double genetic whammy on that one?
Doesn't matter. You know how you with sunlight. That's the answer. So that the reason why that happened from an evolutionary basis, remember how we went.
Well, both of my parents are from Soviet Union
up high,
that's
high latitude.
Exactly, yes.
That's the reason
so
why.
That's why I'm in that zone.
And all you got to do to fix it is get in the sun. It's that simple.
Awesome. That was another good question. All right, let me look at some of the questions, guys, and see what we got. I know someone asked about the eyes and cataracts. I got to get a question. I've heard you go deep on that with red light.
Yeah.
Right into your eyes. I actually have a red light sauna up at my parents' place in New York because I don't have a place of my own anymore. So I use it whenever I visit. So people with older people with eye issues, what do you recommend?
I'm a big fan of sunlight, but I think most people are asking this question because they probably know the story about my nurse's father. He had a condition in his eye called AMD, and AMD is known in ophthalmology circles that, you know, you can't get it better. So he leg falling off my roof, taking care of my clinic in Louisiana, and I put him in one of these big red light panels, and he didn't follow any of the rules that I told him. He didn't wear the goggles. Then he went to the optometrist in about 6 weeks, and he found out the AMD was gone. So the best red light is the stuff that's not fake, meaning not from an LED. The sun does it. What did he do after by doing the red light? His eyes got better. He also didn't have to have surgery on his leg. He started cutting my grass on a zero-turn lawnmower. Where am I at? 28th latitude in the sun. So there was red light and the sun that led to his eyes getting better and his leg getting better. And he also was told that he had a posterior cataract. Cataract was completely gone when the ophthalmologist looked at him the next time. And just so you know, he was over 80 years old.
Wow. Some people are saying many people can't afford your lifestyle. I'm going to disagree with that.
I do too.
So much. You guys have no idea how cheap life is at the equator.
It is.
You have Latin America or Asia, even places, well, I wouldn't really want to live in the Middle East for
a lot of
different reasons. But you have Asia, a little harder to get, Latin America, a lot easier to get a residency. If you are retired, which is, you probably need to do, I know it's important to do it when you're young, but it's never too late.
No.
It's retirement. Life is cheaper here. It's easier here. If you're able to work remotely, there's no reason why you couldn't be in a latitude like this. And you will feel so much better.
Well, there's another
aspect. A trade-off.
This aspect is you need to tell people, the older you get, the more sunlight you need because CCO makes more water. So you have to realize, like, just think about this common sense. When a baby is born, it's 90% water. My age, 65 years old, I'm 55% water. What is the part of the mitochondria water? Cytochrome C oxidase. It's a red light chromophore. Has 4 red lights in it. Well, do you think that they're better than upstate New York where your parents are? The answer is yes. So that's another reason you need to be here. It makes more sense. And it's very cheap to live at a place like this. I think the person that asked that question, it's more like, I don't leave my family and my friends and do this because their time preferences are all fucked up.
All right. Any other questions, guys? Trying to think. I got through my questions fairly. We got Jack for about 10 more minutes. And actually, technically, we have you a little longer, but I promised him we would only do it for an hour. I'm usually great with questions. Anything else you want to add to help people live a healthier life?
Yeah, I would tell you the other thing I want you to do is become a person that questions everything. When you hear something on the internet, ask the questions. Really get different viewpoints, but understand where that person's coming from. You also have to vet experts really properly, meaning who packs your parachute. So if somebody really cares about the truth, they can give you sites. Like a blog that I write has a bibliography on it. So I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm telling you exactly what the reading of the tea leaves is. If somebody says something that you believe that I don't believe, ask the question. And don't shy away from controversy. Controversy is how we learn.
Oh, my whole channel is controversy.
Right. And books. I were a big thing. Build a library. So I'll give you 5 books. Andrew Marino's Going Somewhere. Robert O. Becker's The Body Electric. Roland Van Wyck, Life Sculpts Life. Gerald Pollack's book, The Fourth Phase of Water. And then my favorite mitochondria book is Nick Lane, Power, Sex, and Suicide.
All right, I hope you guys wrote those down. Damn, I forgot to locally record this. I was going to, just in case the video went out. But, okay, so I got more questions. Fasting. Actually, this is my second interview of a health expert. My first one was Dr. August Dunning, former NASA scientist, who wrote a book on dry fasting, and he recommends 7-day dry fast protocol to activate your stem cells and all the stuff that water fasting is supposed to do. In his research, he's like, the water fasting claims are blown, but they're all true if you dry fast it. Your thoughts on fasting and or dry fasting?
I think, again, you have to realize the dealing with astronauts. Astronauts are fit people, train wrecks. So if you take somebody to dry fast for 7 days, they're going to fucking laugh at you. They can't, their mitochondria can't support it. Now, does fasting
do it? I've done 3 to 4 days. I'm going to try to do the 7 or right after New Year's.
Here's the key thing. The fast that we talked about before, breakfast, doing that every day, I think is critically important.
Oh, I agree. I do that now. Right. I just eat later in the day. My dinners are usually later, so my breakfast.
The more stress you have, like you have light stress, circadian stress, which is what an astronaut has, then fasting has a bigger window. But the problem is you have to have at least a baseline of decent colony and mitochondria function in order to make that work. If you don't, you're going to yourself.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about blood work. Your views on iron levels, and should people occasionally donate blood? Important for men than women, because men have the ability to lose blood, especially if you eat a lot of meat, making sure your iron levels are never too high.
If you would have asked me this question 20 or 15 years ago, I would have said blood work is important. Now I think it's superfluous. I think it's a total waste of money. I think bleeding yourself only makes sense if you have hemochromatosis. I don't care how much meat you eat. If you have good kidneys and good liver, you won't have a problem. The real big issue with iron is we failed the same way stars do. You may not know this, but when a star blows up, becomes a supernova, it's because the fusion center becomes iron. The same thing is true when your ferritin level goes up. That tells you that the blown up, and what are you doing? You're creating light from your mitochondria. That is a state of ill health, okay? You don't see any lab test that proves that you're making UPEs from your mitochondria. So why are you doing the blood work? You know why you're doing the blood work? I'm going to tell you why. It's a fiat mind game that the functional medicine and the allopath doctors got on you. And what I'd rather see you do is take that money, put it into Bitcoin, come down here and buy a Citadel.
All right. Interesting. Let's talk about other important elements of the body. The thyroid. Any comments?
Thyroid is the gas pedal. What is it? What's the key pathway there? It starts with tyrosine and phenylalanine and ends in what? So that means when you live in a hypoxic environment or you're in a hypoxic state, say like you're a vegan that lives in the Netherlands and you smoke, you break down your endogenous melanin to T3. That's the way you survive. Are you designed to do that? No, you're designed to be in the sun, to take those 2 aromatic amino acids and make T3 and T4 from sunlight. Most people don't get told that. They get told the bullshit that Ray Peat tried to teach people for a long time, and it's wrong.
One more topic. I know what the answer is, so it's a little bit of a lead-in question. I know a lot of people in my life, especially thinking of a specific person, probably not watching. If a person is really, really depressed over their life, the best solution is
sunlight.
Sunlight.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing that Rick and I have talked. You know, many of his clients have serious problems because they're in the music business, and most music at night, too much light at night. What's the key? Low dopamine. Low dopamine is caused by low sunlight. Why? Dopamine is made from another aromatic amino acid. Aromatic means UV light. That's what they absorb. If you get somebody put them at the beach every day. Similar to what the chance of them being depressed goes.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
Nope. Just good meeting you, seeing you live, and come see me, Salvador, and come see the. There you go. See, come on. So Tone, you know now. You felt me.
All right, guys.
Look, here comes the wife. She's
you
telling me
all
I gotta go.
so much for watching. We're gonna let Jack go. Let me steal that microphone off of you. And we got this done in 1 hour. There's a clip there. There you go. We got this done in 1 hour. I really hope the video. How was the video from your end?
Looked pretty good.
But the audio is the more important part.
Yeah.
Audio was choppy?
The audio was good, but I didn't really.
All right, we're still live actually. So let me wrap this up, guys. Hope the video and audio went well. I really should have recorded locally. I'm gonna try and remember to hit the record button locally next time. Next time I'm in El Salvador, I will stay at Jack's house. We're gonna do a lot more content in this realm. I find them very, very interesting, and the way these interviews run is I ask questions that I want to know the answer to. A few of them I know what the answer is going to be because I do a little bit of research ahead of time. All right, guys, thank you all for watching, and see you all on the next one. I am still a believer in doing blood work. We'll do a whole series on blood work, and I'll show you guys my blood work and what elements of my blood work came in subpar, too high, too low, what I've been doing to try and change that. And that's going to be a great, great series. All right. Thank you all for watching, and see you all on the next one. This thing off. Here we go. All right.